Have you guys seen that guy? The one with the UFC that kinda looks like a thumb from Spy Kids. What's his name? Dana White. Yeah, that's it. Pretty much the Joe Rogan clone of the UFC. Not the best guy in the world, honestly, from everything that I've heard about him, but looks like our good old buddy here, old Charlie, old moist critical, old wet one here, really doesn't like him very much either. And we're gonna see why that is today, guys. I wanna hear what Charlie's got to say about old Dana White here.
I've recently been getting big into the UFC again. I'd always watched the big fights, and when I was in high school, I watched a lot more of it, especially GSP and Machida bouts. Lyoto
Oh,
Machida
yeah.
is my favorite fighter ever, but post high school, I stopped watching as much and only tuned in to the big fights, and that's the way it's been for like the last 12, 15 years maybe, until recently. I've been getting more and more into the UFC, and as such, I've started hating Dana White more and more. I
Fair
feel
enough.
like as you pay more attention to this sport, you unfortunately have to pay more attention to this fucking fungus. Now, the obvious that everyone talks about is how he refuses to pay his fighters appropriate wages.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
not
Oh,
even here to really
no.
dive into this can of worms here. I'll briefly mention it though, that it is sickening how
Really is, yes.
underpaid the athletes are in the UFC.
He does have some that he, like, licks their fucking feet all the time, bro. He kisses ass to, like, Conor McGregor and shit so fucking hard, bro. But yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard the same shit.
The only ones making like real money are like the actual superstars. But like their starter
Yeah, that's
contracts
what I'm
of the
saying.
12-12, 12 the show, 12 if you win, that should be criminal. Dana White should be in handcuffs right now for that kind of shit. It's fucking disgusting how underpaid UFC athletes are if they're not champions. And it's something Sean O'Malley mentioned as well, though Sean O'Malley seems perfectly content being financially cucked by Dana White because he often defends it. But Sean O'Malley was talking about the money he made as a champion being significantly different from the money he makes not being a champion, which I think most people would expect. But the difference is absurd. I think a lot of you have probably heard that UFC fighters, when they're starting out, have to still have a part-time job elsewhere. They can't do the UFC full-time. It's not until you are literally like a top 5 cream of the crop level athlete in the UFC that you can actually make livable money there, it seems.
I did not know that, bro. What the fuck? I have never actually heard that about the UFC, bro. Like, I feel like they kind of portray it as if they're making money, man. I mean, from the grand scheme of things, I feel like the most that I see is somebody that doesn't consistently watch UFC. I prefer armored MMA and shit like that. Basically, I feel like I always look at the UFC from the outside perspective of kind of a big show, kind of like wrestling and shit like that, with these characters that come in and they seem to be rich and famous, just like all these streamers, just like all the celebrities, all this crap, guys. But I guess that there's people that are really getting the short end of the stick when it comes to old UFC and Dana White.
And the bonuses that they introduced are kind of just a band-aid for the problem of Dana White being too cheap to actually pay his athletes. And I also just saw reports this week that they are now no longer accommodating team travel. They're only compensating for the head coach. Another classy
Whoa.
maneuver here from Dana Worm White, who just has to find all kinds of grubby penny pinching schemes because we have to.
Guys, how the fuck are they gonna have just the coach show up without the fighters and make the fighters pay for shit? To go to a fight that if they win, they get paid out for. What? That doesn't make any fucking sense, bro. What happened? That doesn't sound right at all.
Remember, the UFC is just a tiny
Bro,
little indie promotion
I'm
that's
getting
merged
ruffled.
with the fucking WWE, and the UFC only generated $1.5 billion in 2025.
That's a lot
not
of money.
nearly enough to satiate Dana White's gluttony. I know I said I wasn't going to fully open this can of worms, and I still haven't. This is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to
Just the
UFC
tip.
wages and how they just don't want to pay their fighters at all. Now, I'll go ahead and move on to some other Dana White dunk topics in recent memory here because he just keeps making a fucking fool of himself and I have to clown on him for it. But before that, I want to make a mention that I also despise the UFC WWE merger. I am just counting down the days until Dana White falls into his K-hole and then really gets convinced that he should be more involved with the WWE, so he tries to start shoving his meat
How does that
over
even
there
work?
and strong-arming some of his ideas in place. Like, listen,
How does that even work to have them together, though? Do they just have people, like, doing UFC, MMA type shit, and then they whip out a fucking chair and start beating each other up with it? What is going on? How does that even work? I feel like they're two different sports, right?
guys, listen, let me pitch you on something.
One's fake and
What about
one's...
Stone Cold Steve Austin
Whatever.
versus The Undertaker in a slippery dickory match? First one to hold the other's cock for a 3 count
Oh,
wins.
man.
Thoughts?
On a slipping slide, oh my god, honestly, bro, I would pay to watch that shit more than I would probably pay to watch a lot of other things when it comes to the UFC and shit. I'm just not that into it. I would especially with all this talk and drama about how it's all fucked up, bro. And yes, I did just say that I would like to see a slippery dickory dock 3-second cockfight rather than a lot of the UFC shit, but whatever.
Because I could just see him doing some dumb shit like that. He is just a factory of zero IQ ideas and even worse execution. Anyway, though, I want to show you a clip that I just saw this morning. This is from an interview that I think is 2 months old, and I think it really showcases just how evil of a man Dana White is. Now, a little context before this clip plays. I don't think Dana White has any respect at all for his wife. A while ago, I made a video covering an incident where Dana White and his wife got into a bit of a slapping match.
He said Dana wife and his wife, by the way, just to not to correct you, Charlie, but I just want to point that out.
I made a video covering an incident where Dana White and his wife got into a bit of a slapping match at a New Year's Eve party in public. She had slapped Dana White, and then he responded by slapping her multiple times in public, in full view of everything. When I covered that, people were very upset with me for talking about it, and then even outright denying that it was real, that this didn't happen, this is a fucking lie. And then Dana White himself had to do like the world's smallest violin press tour about it, like, listen, don't defend me, this was bad. And I'm not trying to just regurgitate all the talking points from back then, but in the clip you can see he's already grabbing his wife when she slaps him, and then he slaps her multiple times and pushes her away. And it's not like he was in any danger here. Let's not pretend that he had just been attacked by fucking Brock Lesnar.
Nah, bro, honestly, he's a pretty big guy. I think that's kind of nuts.
This has been yapped about till the cows come home already. I know that. As everyone's already said numerous times, it's bad on all fronts. The slap from his wife is no good, and then the retaliation from him to slap her multiple times, also very not good.
Bro, but still, man, be a fucking man, bro. She's a little-ass girl. Compared to him, I'm not saying that he should take that, but, like, why? Why let it get that far, dude? Why let it get that far? That, I don't know. Everybody in this situation is stupid as fuck, like you said.
Wife is no good, and then the retaliation from him to slap her multiple times, also very not good. The reason why I'm bringing this up again is because after what we've seen him do publicly, like in that instance, and now what he's also now just said publicly about what he made his wife do in regards to the birth of his child to compensate his schedule, it just really feels like the most loveless, miserable marriage imaginable. It just seems fucking terrible.
I don't know what he's talking about with the fucking thing with his kid. Maybe he's going to talk about it now. What on earth is going on?
My son, Aiden.
Aiden Ross?
When she was pregnant with him, the due date was the Chuck Liddell fight.
Oh, Lord.
And I said to the doctor, this ain't going to work. This doesn't work for me.
Man, I don't know where this medical field medicine is at, but...
So we scheduled a C-section to take him early.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So was she going to go natural?
No.
Okay, but there was a C-section. You're like, no, we got to back this up. Like,
yeah, was she going to go natural what? Like go in when the baby... Yeah, when the baby's due, you... Right. Hey, the baby's due. Let's go.
But y'all did a
That was supposed to be Saturday on the fucking Chuck Liddell fight. That was the date that they pinpointed.
Right, you're like, nah, this ain't going to happen.
What the hell, bro? Can't you just have somebody, like, sit in for you, bro? Get Joe Rogan and nobody even tell the difference. I don't understand the ethics there, bro. Like, everything in this world and everything in the media and everything in this realm of industry has literally disintegrated everything that fucking matters about people and families and all this shit, bro. What is it even for if we can't actually have a good life with the people we love, man? And you just ruin everybody around you. That is insane to me.
Work for me.
No, we're gonna be walking out in Vegas.
Troglodyte.
Something got to change. But you change, okay, no.
But digital detox.
He goes on to say digital detox does not exist for him. This story is just vile. Like, I don't know how anyone could hear this and walk away with a positive impression of that. He jeopardized the safety and the health of not just his wife, but also his fucking baby, so that way he could go to the Chuck Liddell fight. So he had his wife undergo a C-section early in order to compensate for his schedule so he could still make that fight. That's deplorable. And they're talking about it, like joking about it, jovial, like it's...
I don't mean to laugh because it's funny. I'm laughing because it kind of pisses me off, guys. What the fuck, dude? That doesn't make any sense. What the hell, bro? I can't even believe that this is the world we live in, and these are the people that walk around amongst us every day. Oh my God.
It's not something super serious. That's a huge deal.
It's insane.
You're going to C-section your baby early solely so you can go to that fight. Again, that puts his wife in danger. That puts his baby in danger. That's crazy to me that anyone's
It's
looking at this as
insanity,
anything
guys.
other than just downright evil. This is so scummy. And he's proudly talking about it like, yeah, I don't slow down. I just don't slow down. My wife knows this. I'll be going all night.
Yeah, bro, I just freaking sacrifice everybody around me for everything that I want to do in my comfortability and for me to feel happy about myself and for me to suck off all the fucking people that I work with, that I make money off of, that I bring in here to fight in a fucking sweaty ring with each other instead of caring about my fucking family. What the fuck, dude? That doesn't make any fucking I'm sorry. I'm getting mad. Let's continue.
She knew this getting into it. In fact, with the birth of our baby here, I even made her get a C-section early. Ha ha ha.
Garbage
So I can
piece
see that
of
Chuck
shit.
Liddell fight, That's, what the fuck, man? That's crazy. Ordinarily, to a sane person, the birth of your child is going to be one of the most
It's
important,
everything,
most
guys.
memorable, most
What the
meaningful
fuck?
moments of your life. But to Dana White, that's just an obstacle, because now it's potentially infringing on his ability to go watch the Chuck Liddell fight. That's how much he cares about his promotion. He needs to make sure, the birth of his child is fucking... That's peanuts. That's nothing. That's scraps. Spits on that.
Disgusting,
We're going to speed
bro.
that one up. Let's get through that real quickly so that way you can go to the real thing that matters, the Chuck Liddell fight.
We said, yep, cut him out. Cut him out. We got a fight to go to. Just cut him out. I don't... Sorry, guys. It actually makes me really mad to hear people talking about that kind of stuff, because this is a rich and famous person that you would think would make good decisions. I don't know, bro. These rich famous people honestly stomp on everything that matters in the world, and it kind of pisses me off because they don't care.
Even the most diehard of UFC fans should hear this and be like, wow, that's extremely concerning.
Yeah,
that's
bro.
just genuinely
Yeah, bro.
fucked up. And
For
I have
real.
seen some cope with people saying he's probably just exaggerating or kidding around. I watched most
What
of
do you
that
mean?
podcast there. He doesn't go back and say oh, that story I told about making my wife have a C-section to deliver our baby early for the sake of the Chuck Liddell fight so I could still participate. Oh yeah, I made that up. I pulled that out of my ass. That was just supposed to be a good goof, ha 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 moment. You know what I mean?
No.
So as far
it's
as
not.
I'm aware, this is a very real thing that happened. Something that he is very proud of, which
Sounds
I think
like
is
it.
just sick.
It
I think
is.
that is extremely twisted. And I
I
also think
100%
it
agree.
showcases...
Bro, okay, I'm not going to keep on going on about this shit, but yes, it makes me pretty mad. I think it's really frustrating that, wow, look at Charlie, bro. He's double lazy-eyed right now. He looks stoned. But, dude, yeah, it really frustrates me that people behave like this. No matter what, it really brings out the worst sides in people. Whenever they have money and power and all that shit, bro, a bad person is a bad person. Poor, wealthy, wherever, whenever, however, bro. They don't stop until they decide to actually be better.
his perspective on the UFC, where I believe Dana White is under the impression that people watch the UFC for him. I think
Probably.
he believes
He
that
does think
he is the UFC, not the fighters. And that's, I think, also demonstrated in how he pays them, or really doesn't. So him making it of paramount importance that he is there for the Chuck Liddell fight, because that's what matters, is that Dana White is there for it. So he's willing to make the sacrifice of his wife's safety, the safety of the baby, jeopardizing both of their health for the sole sake of ensuring that he can still be there, because that is what people care about.
He's a piece of garbage.
It is. I think it's just super fucked up.
And he openly admits the shit. And he openly slaps his wife in the middle of a fucking bar. Bro, yes, I think that they have a terrible, horrible, loveless, emotionless marriage where they are just fucking bad people, honestly. And I feel bad because that poor kid, bro. Just that poor kid and everybody that has to be affected by their bullshit.
That is what people care about. It is. I think it's just super fucked up. I truly do. And I would also imagine that most people that watch the UFC probably have the same viewpoint I do on it, which
would hope
is
so.
the fighters are the ones that make the UFC, not the other way around. I think if the UFC didn't have the talent that it does with the fighters that it has, it would not be in the same state that it is. Fighters are the ones that made the UFC successful.
So I've seen a lot of fans and viewers online
that's
commenting
obvious.
or discussing what they perceive as a lot of AI-generated content in the broadcast that maybe wasn't in previous iterations of the UFC. Is this something that's coming with the Paramount deal, or just a new direction for the UFC, or do you have any insight on that?
Look at his stupid face.
What does that mean?
AI.
What do you mean, what does that mean, bro? He's asking you, why is there a bunch of AI shit all of a sudden in the UFC shit, bro? Is that happening from Paramount or some kind of deal you're making with some kind of broadcasting company? Or what is your problem, bro? What's happening?
Stuff, commercials, part of the promotional content, just AI in the UFC in general, I've seen fans complaining about.
Oh, yeah? What are they complaining about?
I guess I've seen people saying
That it's
that
being
the
used.
UFC should be paying artists instead of using generative AI, stuff like that.
Give me a fucking break. AI is coming, and if we're using AI, who gives a shit? People are upset about it. We should use artists.
You think with all that money that they save for paying artists to actually do some shit around here, that they'd be able to at least pay their fighters? But obviously Dana White and his stupid fucking head.
Be paying artists instead of using generative AI, stuff like that.
Give me a fucking break. AI is coming, and if we're using AI, who gives a shit? People are upset about it. We should use artists. How about this? Shut the fuck up and watch the fights.
The most unsurprising statement ever uttered from a human being here. Dana White doesn't even pay the fighters. You think he cares about paying artists? Absolutely not. This fucking goober, this goddamn zombie would 1000% be using AI fighters if he could to save even more money on it.
Bro, they're gonna start hiring the fucking Elon Musk robots to go in there and fight in the ring and put a fucking wig and a vest on them and just make them go at it, bro. They're gonna watch one day we're gonna have fighters like that, and it's gonna be kind of dumb, but it'll be here.
1000% be using AI fighters if he could to save even more money on it.
Crazy.
So it's not at all a shock to see him with this perspective about like, who cares if we're not paying artists? Who cares if we're using AI? Just shut up and consume our slop. Just watch our AI and put your thumb in your mouth and be done with it. Naturally, that's what Dana White is going to say about it. And expect a lot more AI from Dana White as he starts to recognize more and more how much money he can save by just farting out AI-generated shit into the UFC programming. So don't expect that to stop anytime soon. He'll continue to go hog wild with the AI, which doesn't elevate the production or anything. It doesn't make it better. It does make it worse, but it saves Dana White money. And that's the most important thing to Dana White. There's so much more. There's just plenty I can keep poking around about when it comes to this fucking scumbag. But I've already been going here for a while yapping about it, so I'll go ahead and stop here. I do not like Dana White, but I really, really like the fighters in the UFC. It's such a fucking shame. Hopefully the day will come where they're actually paid appropriately for their talent and their hard work. But with Dana White still at the helm, I wouldn't hold my breath on it. It fucking sucks. He fucking sucks. Anyway, that's really about it. So yeah.
I agree. I do also think that he sucks a whole lot. I think that the ethics within a lot of industries is becoming like this, and it's all going to reach a boiling point where everything explodes. That's what I'm pretty convinced about. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'd love to hear it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.